You may have heard of something called a DVPO. That's the acronym for Domestic Violence Protective Order. Lawyers in North Carolina use a shorthand term. It's called a 50B order. That's actually just the statutory reference. And it is a complicated area of law that often involves both civil court, where most divorce actions are, and criminal court, if there's a criminal background to domestic violence. And it's not unusual at all that domestic violence can result in some sort of crossover between the two court rooms, actually, and court facilities. I mean, can be floors. So I started my legal career doing criminal defense. I've done it a lot of years and have handled more than a fair number of assault on female cases, assault and battery, simple assault, misuse of emergency communications, injury to personal property, whatever it is. And it's important to realize there's an interplay between those criminal charges, or a potential for interplay between those criminal charges and the civil aspect of things. And criminal lawyers may look at it in one way, and family law attorneys may look at it another way, and we do both areas of law, and I think that is helpful in being able to take a holistic approach. Giving testimony in a domestic violence protective order in a civil proceeding is different than a criminal case. For example, while one party has the burden of proof, like in a criminal case, the state has the burden of proof, the defendant in a criminal case cannot be called by the state to testify or offer testimony against themselves. In a civil case, while the defendant or respondent in a 50B pleading may assert the Fifth Amendment right, the right to remain silent in the instance that it would tend to incriminate them, they may be called as a witness, and their exercising that Fifth Amendment right may be considered as part of whether or not the court, by using a greater weight of the evidence, more likely than not, and that's a standard in civil court, whether or not a 50B should be issued, a domestic violence protective order issued. These cases are complicated. There are important timing requirements. They happen very, 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 very quickly because legislature is concerned about people being harmed physically most times. And they can have consequences both down the road in criminal case, but also to your separation divorce. 50B orders can ask for possession of a vehicle, or custody of a child, or staying in the primary residence and not being allowed to have any form of contact. And they are filed almost exclusively ex parte, means outside the hearing of the respondent, the defendant. And they set a very quick hearing, at least in Charlotte. There's a strong preference for them to be handled, on that first date. Court can consider allowing a continuance, but there's a strong preference for the 50B to be handled and disposed of almost as quickly as possible. And there are reasons for that, and there are reasons not for that. If you are someone who feels abused and you want to terminate the relationship and you want to seek some sort of protection, we can help you do that. If you have one of these filed against you and you think it's being used, what was intended as being a shield has been turned into a sword, we defend them as well. And that's one reason why we want to do a conflicts check when you call and make sure we're available for representation. Legal fees for 50B orders can be complicated. Some of the aspects, if you face criminal charges, you've got an assault on female or communicating threats, we tend to charge flat rates for the criminal aspects of things. For 50B, which is more traditional civil side and may be related to a Chapter 50 action, which has to do with divorce or child custody, these are complicated, so there's a million different exceptions out there. We tend to charge a true general retainer and an hourly rate for that. Your case is unique. Your case is different. What applied to someone else, cousin Eddie's case, may not be at all relevant to yours. Give us a call. We'd like to sit down with you. Timing is important. Don't wait till the night before a 50B hearing. If you get served with that, or if you want to serve something, get a lawyer involved as soon as possible. Now, is a lawyer required? No. Is a lawyer helpful in these cases? Yeah, I think they are. I think it helps to have someone standing literally shoulder to shoulder in court with you, explaining the process. This is a complicated area of law, a very complicated area of law in my opinion. And I think it's worthwhile to have a lawyer looking out for your best interests and explaining your legal rights and options and explaining how we think things will work in court for you. Our telephone number is 704-342-HELP, H-E-L-P. There's a reason for that. We want to help you. And it's 704-342-4357. Again, my name is Bill Powers, and I hope to hear from you.